Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. According to The Sun, Manchester United are eyeing a move for Federico Valverde as a possible replacement for Paul Pogba. We have scouted him several times. Federico Valverde currently plays for Real Madrid. He's 22 years of age. He's predominantly a central midfielder. He's got a £148 million release clause in his current contract, and his contract ends in 2025. Federico Valverde made around 44 appearances last term. Now he's currently out with a muscle injury, so he hasn't been able to play so far this year. Before he was at Real Madrid, he was at Penaril. He also had a loan spell with Deportivo La Coruña. So would you take him at Manchester United? Possible swap deal between Federico Valverde and Paul Pogba. Now, we have set our asking price for Paul Pogba. We are demanding £100 million. There is a good chance that Paul Pogba will depart the club in the summer. Now, 3 clubs want him: Real Madrid, Juventus and PSG. There's a good chance that Paul Pogba will go back to Juventus. Paul Pogba did endure 4 good years with Juventus before he rejoined Manchester United. Reports from Italy recently said that Juventus offered us 4 players in exchange for Paul Pogba. He has had a long-running transfer saga. We have held talks with Paul Pogba regarding his future. Solskjaer said the other week that Paul Pogba's happy, and he suggested he could sign a new contract. Mini Oriola recently admitted that he's working quietly on Paul Pogba's transfer to avoid offence, and he's refused to comment on Paul Pogba's future. Now, back in December, Mini Oriola made an announcement saying that Paul Pogba's career at Man United is over. He said he's unhappy and he has to leave, and he's got no intentions of signing a new contract. Solskjaer wasn't happy with Mini Oriola's announcement because it was just before the game against RB Leipzig in the Champions League. Earlier on this season, we triggered that 1-year extension on his contract, so he's under contract with the club until the summer of 2022. As it stands at the moment, he is our most expensive signing because we paid £89 million for him. This is his 5th season, I think, at the football club since he rejoined. He's made over 100 appearances for us in all competitions. He's won 3 trophies at the club. That's the Europa League, the League Cup and the Community Shield. We had Pogba when he was a lot younger under the Sir Alex Ferguson era, but we had to let him go due to limited appearances. At the moment, Paul Pogba is out with a thigh injury. He's going to be out for another 2 weeks. He is a big miss because in recent months, Paul Pogba's performances have been very, very good. Earlier on this season, he was out with an ankle injury. He was out for the vast majority of last season with an ankle injury, so he's sustained a few injuries now at Manchester United. The other week, Paul Pogba's brother, Matthias Pogba, come out and said that if we had to get the money, we need to sell Paul Pogba in the summer, because he said he could leave for nothing next year, and he said that he's got no intentions of signing a new contract. Now, it was coming out last month saying that Pogba was considering making a U-turn at the club, and he contradicted his agent Minio Raiola for the second time. Like I say, Paul Pogba's future is on hold until the end of the season. But yeah, £100 million, I'm very, very sceptical we'll get £100 million for Pogba. You know, we won't even recoup the 89 million that we did pay for him. I think we could maybe get from between 50 to 60 million pounds, maybe slightly more. Yesterday, I give you the news on Jadon Sancho from Borussia Dortmund. He said we'd been handed a huge boost in our pursuit of Jadon Sancho, because according to Kicker via Sports Witness, a Jadon Sancho transfer is coming in the summer. £60 million has been quoted. It actually did say we believe we can get Jadon Sancho for just £50 million. That's a bargain. But Borussia Dortmund are expecting him to leave in the summer. Dortmund face a summer of exits. You know, they could sell up to 8 players to raise funds. He said earlier on this season from Bild that Dortmund reduced their asking price for Sancho to £88 million. So they're not £20 million off. Because last summer, Dortmund's valuation was £108 million. We was not willing to meet that valuation. But yeah, he was our number one priority target last summer. Fabrizio Romano, who's a very reliable Italian journalist, he's spoken a lot about the Jadon Sancho transfer saga, and so too has Bild's Christian Fark. You know, Dortmund said to us last summer that we had until the 10th of August to sign the player. We obviously missed out on that deadline, so Sancho remained at Dortmund. Don't forget, earlier on this season, Dortmund sacked Lucien Favre. Dortmund have had a bad season. I think they're like sitting 6th in the Bundesliga. Earlier on this season, Sancho made an admission saying that he has enjoyed a difficult season at Dortmund. Analysing the vast majority of his career at Dortmund, though, he's been very consistent. This is his 4th season with them. He's under contract with Dortmund till 2023. Dortmund paid just £8 million for him from Man City back in 2017. As you all know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer still wants Erling Haaland at Manchester United. You know, I'd love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to reunite with the player. You know, Solskjaer knows the player well. Solskjaer was the one that gave Erling Haaland his debut at just the age of 16 at Molde. And back in December 2019, Solskjaer and Woodward went up to Norway to meet up with Erling Haaland to negotiate a possible move to Manchester United. Next year, Haaland will be available for around £68 million because that's when his release clause does become active. But yes, Solskjaer recently made a new Erling Haaland transfer admission. He's following Erling Haaland's progress. Earlier on this season, Erling Haaland's father was talking about his son's transfer links to Man United. But since Haaland's arrival at Dortmund, he has been a revelation. He must have scored like 38 goals in 40 games. You know, Dortmund paid just £17 million for him. He's got a contract with Dortmund until 2024. He's been at Dortmund now over a year. I think a new centre-back is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's priority. He recently said we had a 5-man centre-back shortlist. This year's summer transfer window is very, very important for Manchester United because we do need to make signings. He said recently we are prepared to smash our transfer record this summer. And Ed Woodward is set to hand Solskjaer a huge war chest to sign top players in all areas. And Woodward must back Solskjaer in the summer transfer window because I think the transfer windows Solskjaer's enjoyed so far, he has not been backed enough. Woodward has come out several times to show his support for Solskjaer. He did say towards the end of last year he will back Solskjaer with a long-term plan centred around summer transfer windows. And the board has been one of the biggest problems at the club for several years, reflecting how poor our recruitment policy's been. We've also overpaid for players, and none of the managers have been backed enough since Ferguson retired. Woodward's been at the club since 2012. The Glazers have been at the football club since 2005. But a lot of United fans for a long time now have been demanding the board out. This year's summer transfer window will be Solskjaer's 5th transfer window as permanent Man United manager. Solskjaer's endured 4 transfer windows so far as permanent Man United manager. Don't get me wrong, he has made good signings as Solskjaer. He spent over £200 million, but obviously he hasn't got all the players that he wanted to recommend in. As you all know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's future is in doubt. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer recently admitted that no one spoke to him regarding a new contract. Now, it did say the other week we will wait until the end of the season to begin contract talks with Solskjaer. He said we could offer him a new 2-year deal, but we must get qualification for the Champions League and we must keep pushing for the title. I think Solskjaer's into the final 18 months of his current contract. Solskjaer did sign a 3-year contract when he got the job permanently back in March 2019. But like I said, the January transfer window was very disappointing for Man United. We only saw one arrival, and that was Amad Diallo Traore. I think he's going to be a good asset for the first team. He's been doing very, very well for the under-23s. I think he's part of the squad, by the way, ahead of the game against Real Sociedad in the Europa League. But Solskjaer, don't forget, did say a few times during the January transfer window that he wasn't expecting any signings. There is a few Manchester United fans that are now Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out. I'm still Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in at the moment. I think Solskjaer is going to be given at least another season at the football club. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer must win a trophy, like I mentioned recently, to avoid getting the sack. Solskjaer knows how imperative it is to get his first trophy on the board as Man United manager. You know, we haven't won a trophy since 2017 and the club of our stature need to be winning trophies. You know, the FA Cup is a chance of a trophy. We're into the quarterfinals of that, but Leicester's going to be a tough game. The Europa League is also a chance of a trophy. This is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's 3rd season at the club and his 2nd full season. I've totally disregarded the title now. A lot of Manchester United fans have disregarded the title, but Solskjaer did say after our 1-1 draw with West Brom that we are still in the title race, and said we will not settle for second in the title race. That's just Solskjaer playing mind games, because he made an admission after the Everton game which was totally different to the one he made after West Brom, and he said, we shouldn't be considered as title chasers. I don't know if we're going to win a Premier League title under Solskjaer. I don't know when we're next going to win the league. I think we'll win another title at some point. We haven't won the Premier League since 2013, so we haven't won it now for like 8 years. We've endured a few bad periods under Ole, and he's been under pressure quite a few times. We're enduring a bad period at the moment. We've only won 1 of our last 5 games in the league. Was poor earlier on this season. Solskjaer was looking not to be sacked earlier on this season with how poor he was. And we was poor at the first part of last season because we endured our worst start to a Premier League season for 30 years. But I think Solskjaer still made very, very good progress in the last year or so. We've got a very, very good away record in the Premier League. We haven't lost away from home in the Premier League for over a year. The last team to beat us away from home in the league was Liverpool back in January 2020. Solskjaer, to his credit, has got us to the FA Cup quarter-finals, got us to the EFL Cup semi-final this season, lost to Man City 2-0. Solskjaer did well last season in his first full season at the club, got us qualification for the Champions League, got us third, and he guided us to 3 semi-finals. Plus, we went on a 19-game unbeaten run in all competitions last season and was 14 unbeaten in the Premier League. And to Solskjaer's credit as well, he has got rid of a lot of the deadwood since he got recommended in. We saw a few players depart the club in January. We saw Jesse Lingard go out on loan to West Ham. We saw Timothy Fosu-Mensah leave the club. We saw Teden Menga go out on loan. We saw Facundo Pellistri go out on loan. We saw Marcus Rojo also leave the club, and Odion Ighalo said his farewells to Manchester United. And like I said, I'm expecting more players to leave Man United in the summer. Like I said, there's a good chance that Juan Matas will leave the football club in the summer. Juan Matas' current contract expires in the summer. We've got an option to trigger his contract for a further year. Juan Matas doesn't even get in our 11 now. I think Matas had a good career at Man United. He's been in the club now over 6 years. He's made over 200 appearances in all competitions and he's scored 50 goals. Earlier on this season, he rejected an $18 million a year contract offer to play in Saudi Arabia. We got Juan Matas in a deal worth £40 million from Chelsea back in 2014, brought him in under the David Moyes era. Like I said, there's a chance Pogba will leave in the summer. Phil Jones, I think there's a good chance he'll leave this year. I'm surprised he didn't leave in January, but Solskjaer said that Phil Jones is going to be given a second chance. Phil Jones doesn't even get in our 11, but Jones has been out with injury for the past 12 months. Phil Jones has been a long servant at the club. This is his 10th season at Manchester United. He's the only outfield player that is still here since the Sir Alex Ferguson era. Could we possibly offload Matic in the summer? Matic isn't one of our first choice midfielders, but despite that, he's still getting a lot of chances. And I think he's had some good games as a Man United player. He's also had bad games. I've always had my reservations about Matic. because he's always been a slow player. Matic has been at the club now almost 4 years, is it? We got Matic in a deal worth £40 million from Chelsea back in 2017. Should we consider offloading Martial in the summer? Because I don't think he's got a long-term future at Manchester United. Martial has been out of form for the vast majority of this season and he has been criticised, but Solskjaer has backed Anthony Martial to rediscover his form. Martial needs to be dropped. I think Edison Cavani's now overtaken him. Martial was good last season and he was good in his debut season under Louis van Gaal. Martial's been at the club now over 5 years. Solskjaer was the one that gave Anthony Martial that number 9 shirt. Like I said to you yesterday, by the way, who will Manchester United's next manager be if we do eventually sack Solskjaer? Like I said, Pochettino's totally out of the equation because he's at PSG, but when Pochettino was managerless, he was the favourite to take over at Man United, wasn't he? Would Wayne Rooney take over? Because Wayne Rooney did make an admission saying that one day his dream would be to manage Manchester United. I think he actually said that building up to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first game, which was obviously Cardiff City. Wayne Rooney's the current manager now of Derby, and Rooney endured 13 years with us. He was our all-time leading goal scorer with 253 goals, so obviously Rooney knows the culture of the club. Thomas Tuchel's at Chelsea, but he was on our agenda at one point. Massimiliano Allegri's been in our agenda before. Would you take Julian Nagelsmann at Manchester United? But yeah, we'll stick with Solskjaer for now, like I said. We appointed him in December 2018 to replace Mourinho. In his first 3 months at the club, he was the interim manager. Did very, very well as interim manager though, won 14 games out of 19 in all competitions, so that's what got him the job permanently back in March 2019. Solskjaer's been Man United manager now over 2 years. He's managed over 100 games as Man United manager in all competitions, and Man United is the 3rd club in his managerial career. Before he was with us, he was at Mulder, and before Mulder, he was at Cardiff, and his record at Cardiff was absolutely disastrous. But you've probably got to say that Solskjaer is our best manager since Ferguson. Solskjaer's our 4th permanent manager since Ferguson retired, because we've sacked 3 managers since Ferguson retired, and that was David Moyes. We sacked him after 10 months, sacked Louis van Gaal after 2 years despite him winning the FA Cup, and we sacked Jose Mourinho after 2.5 years despite him winning the Europa League, the League Cup and the Community Shield in his first season. And we're not even really known as a sacking football club, but no one's going to replicate what Ferguson did at the club. But like I've said to you, these players that are really, really improving at Manchester United, you've got Luke Shaw that's really, really improving. He's getting forward well, he's getting into good positions, he's putting good crosses into the box, and defensively he's been superb. Luke Shaw still remains our first choice left back, despite the arrival of Tellez last summer. Tellez has played nowhere near as much as I expected. I think Eric Bailly is also a good centre-half, and I certainly prefer him to Lindelof, but he's too injury-prone, is Eric Bailly. But I want to see Lindelof dropped, and I want to see Bailly getting there alongside Maguire, because quite clearly Lindelof and Maguire don't work together, like, Neville recently said. Wan-Bissaka, he's improving. He probably needs to show a bit more attacking intent, but there has been some games this season where he has shown good attacking intent and his crossing's been better. But defensively, Wan-Bissaka has always been superb. This is his second season at Man United. Dean Henderson, he's done very, very well in the games he's played in this season. And I think at some point, Dean Henderson will become our number one. Dean Henderson's reliable enough now to become our number one because of the performances he's made when he's played this season, and plus he enjoyed 2 successful loans with Sheffield United, so he has got that experience behind him. And Solskjaer recently admitted that it's becoming more and more difficult to leave Dean Henderson out of the side. You know, Jamie Carragher's come out recently and said that we need to start playing Dean Henderson for the next, 12, 13 games, did he say? And he says we need to drop David De Gea. Because David De Gea is a liability. And Neville come out and said that Neville, Maguire and Lindelof are not good enough to win the title. And Neville said that Solskjaer must deal with the goalkeeper situation. To David De Gea's credit, he did well against West Brom, but he got criticised after our 3-3 draw with Everton because he made 2 mistakes in that one, and effectively he cost us that game against Everton. But he's made calamitous mistakes now in the last couple of years. He will remain our number one though for at least this season. This is David De Gea's 10th season at Manchester United, so he has been a long servant. He's made over 500 appearances for the club in all competitions. Fred, I think he's also really, really improving. Recently made his 100th appearance for the club against West Brom. Wasn't too good against West Brom though, to be honest with you. Fred has been at the club now for a few years. We got him in a deal worth 52 million from Shakhtar Donetsk. Gotta say he was an exceptional player during his time in Ukraine. McTominay can be good when he wants to be. He's enjoyed good games this season. You know, McTominay has been part of the club for several years. Donny van der Beek, he's also a very, very good player when he plays. And he's played nowhere near as much as I expected. Most of Donny van der Beek's appearances have come from the bench. He's only started 2 games in the league. You know, we got Donny van der Beek in a deal worth £40 million. We paid 35 million up front and there was 5 million in add-ons, and he's got a contract with the club until 2025 and he can play in 3 different roles. Solskjaer earlier on this season promised Donny van der Beek more game time at the club because he came out and made an admission saying that Van der Beek's quite clearly unhappy at Man United because of his lack of game time. And ESPN did say during the January transfer window that we rejected several loan offers for Donny van der Beek, so we was reluctant to let him leave in January. Bruno Fernandes, you know, like I said, he's made the difference in the team. You know, most of his performances at Man United have been very, very good, but there has been a few games where he has looked off the pace. Against West Brom recently, he was poor, apart from the fantastic volley he scored. Bruno Fernandes said on his 12-month anniversary that he's planning on spending many years at Manchester United. He's been at the club now over a year. He's won Player of the Month quite a few times, reflecting on his good performances. Mason Greenwood, I've been very, very impressed with him since he broke into the first team squad. And he's done very, very well recently, despite scoring. Most of the time he plays on the right-hand side. I think he's very effective there, though. It got announced yesterday that Mason Greenwood signed a new 4-year contract with Man United. That keeps him at the club until June 2025. There's an option to extend for a further year. Greenwood's made like 82 first team appearances. He made his debut in 2019 and he's been at the club since the age of 7. Earlier on this season, didn't really have much of a perception on him, like I've said before, because he wasn't playing that much. But Ollie's been defending him a lot this season, Mason Greenwood. And at the start of this season, we give Mason Greenwood that number 11 shirt. But he has still got a lot of development in him. Marcus Rashford, I think he's been out of form recently and he's enjoyed bad periods, but he's also enjoyed good periods. But, Rashford is still a very, very good player. I think we need to keep Marcus Rashford out on the left because that's where he's more effective. He's much better on the left than he is on the right. Maybe he does need a rest, Rashford, with him not being at his best recently. And I think in general because, Rashford's played a hell of a lot of games this season. But Rashford's been part of the club for several years. And like I said, Cavani's made a fantastic impact since he's come in. But like I say, this season now, top 4 is our aim because we're not going to win the title. I can almost assure that we are going to finish in the top 4. So anyway guys, that's everything to update today. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always. Take care, God bless, see you all again very, very soon.